In this video, I will talk about the most common mistakes watercolor beginners usually make. And of course, I will show you how to avoid and to fix them. Okay, let's talk about watercolor mistakes and of course how to fix them or to avoid them. Please keep in mind that there is no real wrong or right. It's all just a matter of taste and style. I would say one mistake beginners usually make is that they don't work on watercolor paper. So yes, watercolor can be pricey, but there are also watercolor papers that are not as expensive, and you really won't get nice results if you use copy paper or printer paper or something. The paper will buckle and you won't get nice transitions and watercolor effects. So use watercolor paper to do watercoloring. Okay, next we're talking about brushes. As you know, there are different brush sizes and also, there's a flat brush and round brushes. I would say beginners often take a brush that's a little bit too small because they want to be careful, but in the end you need more brush strokes and it can look overworked. So you should use a brush that fits your subject. If you do a background, I would use a flat brush and a bigger brush. And if you're doing loose florals, I would recommend to use a round brush in size 8 because you can do fine lines and thin lines with the tip and also work with the belly of the brush. And if you go into the details or come to the details, your number 2 is just perfect. One common mistake is not to get clean water after a while, and as you see, your water will take all your pigments and you won't get nice clean washes with this. So one tip, and it's really basic, is to change your water regularly. The next mistakes we're going to talk about is the water pigment ratio. So if you take too much water and too little pigment, your paper can buckle, and also if you go in with water and too less pigment again, you will get some backruns or even cauliflowers. So the edges will be very sharp and the pigment will settle there. To avoid this mistake, I would recommend to layer your color and just to go back to it with more pigment if you want to have this wet and wet technique, or to wait, and if you've got too much color, you can do color lifting after a while, but don't go in with more water and less pigment. If you use too much pigment and too less water on your brush, you will get something like this dry brush effect. It can be that you want to have or create this effect, but if you want to do nice washes and transitions, use a little bit more water. The next thing you have to keep in mind with watercolors, or should keep in mind, is that we're working from light to dark. But if it happens that you used a too dark color and want to fix it, you can easily go in, just rinse your brush, blot it onto a paper towel, and go in with this brush and soak up the pigment. So you can lift the color from your paper surface. And you can also do this again until you've got a lighter color. But it's even better if you're using more water from the beginning on. So start with a light wash, and you can get darker if you want to by layering or by putting in some pigments. Yeah, that's the way watercolors work. The next mistake or thing that can happen if you're impatient, like I am sometimes, is that you maybe want to do a layering, but your first layer isn't dry already yet. And what happens is that you will get color bleedings. And of course, this is also an effect you might want to achieve. But if it just happens because you're impatient, then it's really something you would like to avoid. The first layer isn't really dry on this side of my swatch. So you can see you won't get clean edges, and on this side the color was already dry, and this is the layering I can work with. So sometimes there will be accidental paint splatters, or maybe your brush rolls over the paper and creates or leaves color on the paper, and I will show you how to fix it. So if you maybe just make a dab or something, or there are some splatters, you can use your brush to remove the color. You just have to clean it with water and bring some water. I have really a drop of water on my brush onto the paper to dissolve the pigment, and then to blot it with your paper towel. And you can really fix the mistake and get your paint from your paper. Sometimes you have to do it in more than one step, and then you should let your paper dry so it won't be fuzzy or something. As we've already learned, we have to change our water regularly, and as you can see, my water is blue, so I have to change it now. One mistake can also be to work too hard or to have a too dark sketch in pencil, or if you would like to erase your sketch after you've done painting, you are too impatient, you can smudge your colors. And this won't happen if you use just a really soft sketch or something. Yes, go really, really light in the first place. Or if you're using a water-soluble watercolor pencil in a light gray color, because you can dissolve it with water all the time. As you can see, I can't erase this line because my pre-sketch was too dark, and also I painted over it with watercolors, so you will get this effect. Maybe one or two last tips. Please don't overwork your paintings, because things look good the way they are when you bring them on the page in the first place. Sometimes it really looks odd if you try to correct everything. Also, failures are part of the process, so please keep in mind that everybody makes mistakes. In my creative journey there has been a lot of trial and error. It's totally normal, and you can learn something from it and make the best out of it. So, let me know in the comments what struggles you have and share our experience. I hope you learned something from this class. Don't forget to check my watercoloring class for beginners. Here I show you the most essential techniques when creating with watercolor paints.